Hello and welcome. I'm Dr. Eli Camp, and this is my podcast, Vital Wisdom. This is where I talk about health, wellness, raising children, homesteading, and lots of other topics, all from a vitalistic perspective. I believe the body can heal itself if it's given what it needs, is not poisoned, and if the innate healing ability is supported and not suppressed. It's my intention to bring what I have learned in my life, especially in the 24 years that I've been either training or practicing to be a physician, to help you be your own best doctor. This episode is part of a 12-part series where I and one of my mentors, Dr. Letitia Dick Cronenberg, talk about what we call the axioms of naturopathic medicine, of holistic medicine, really, of vitalistic medicine. Each axiom can really be thought of as a law of natural healing, and they guide a naturopathic doctor in the practice of their medicine. They're not often discussed, but they're critical for understanding how the body becomes and stays healthy. Or on the reverse side, when they're violated, how a body shows signs of illness. Thanks for joining me and enjoy the episode.
Good morning, Eli.
Good morning, Dr. Tish. So excited to be talking axioms with you.
This is fun. This is going to be a wonderful series that we're doing. I'm looking forward to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we're starting at the top of the list, I think. The most important, right?
Yeah, the very first one is the vis Medicatrix Naturae, axiom number 1. So do we want to, let's introduce what an axiom is. Should we start with that?
Yeah. So for those of you who are new to NMI, I'm Eli Camp. I've graduated from Southwest and, of course, our fearless leader here.
Well, I'm Dr. Letitia Dick Cronenberg. I'm president of the Naturopathic Medicine Institute, and we are having a wonderful time here with the Vital conversation and bringing it back to, you know, the philosophy and the things that got people excited way back when Jim Sensenig started this years ago with Eli. So this is going to be fun. We're going to be talking a lot of Lindlar.
Oh yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah.
So to give everybody context for this, I want to talk about, I don't know if this is what was written on napkins or not, but
yeah,
there was a point in time when Jim said to me and others, I'm sure you and he talked about it, where he said, you know, these 7 principles of naturopathic medicine: first, do no harm, treat the whole person, right? You know, the principles that were published and put out. He said, really, a number of different kinds of physicians could use those principles. It's not what makes us unique. And didn't the two of you have a conversation about this and start scratching this out over the years?
Yeah, we started early on this, and he kept coming back to me saying, Tish, there's more to this. There's something more about naturopathic medicine that is very unique to us that hasn't been voiced yet. And it's in Lindlar, it's in Priesnitz, and these principles are here, but I really want to define them. I want to define this for naturopathic medicine because this is the core of our medicine, and it is truly ours. It is not any other method of medicine out there. It's truly our naturopathic roots, and we really need to voice this. So I worked with him off and on through the years. We would discuss Lindlar, as you did with Jim. We discussed Lindlar, and Jim had actually had I don't know if it was an AANP talk or he did bring this up in some of the Vital Gathering talks, that he would talk these principles, but he didn't have them really nailed down. And so that was one thing actually about 2 months before he passed away, he gave me a call and said, Tish, we need to get on this. We need to work on this. I'm like, okay, I'll drag out my books again, Jim, and I'll look at this. So we were talking about it off and on. And so then I really sat down and looked at what he had put together. And then he had about 7 or 8 axioms. I now have 11 and potentially 13, I think. So as you read through Lindlar again and again, you're like, God, there's another one. Wait a minute. Does that fit into this one, or is this part of that one? And they all fit together. So you have to kind of tease them out and sort it all out. We know this stuff. We just haven't really defined it and brought it out for everybody to clearly understand when you're working with a human body and supporting it to heal. What is that you're doing with that? How can you know you can trust it? Well, you know you can trust it, but what is it? So if you bring it forward to your consciousness, you could go, oh, that's what I'm doing here. That makes sense. Then it all fits. The puzzle pieces fit, which is really cool. Really cool.
It is cool. And it's cool that they're not unique to a particular patient. You see it throughout. As you work with so many people, you start to recognize the experience that they're having, and you can even talk to them about it, or you give them something to read about it. So maybe what I should do is it'll take me just a couple seconds. I'll read the list, remind everybody of all of them, and then we can jump right into numero uno. So Vis Medicatrix Naturae, number 1, health as balance, suppression, individualization, which Dr. Jim Sensenig also called the doctrine of snowflakes, doctrine of signatures, minimum dose, dual effect or axiom of compensation, the law of conservation of energy, periodicity, holism, intention, and there may be 1 or 2 more. By the time we get through the year, I'm sure those are going to become more clear. And
yeah, I'll just throw in, I think we have the law of crisis.
Oh, right. We were just talking about that.
The law of polarity, law of harmony, which I think is also vibration, law of similars, which I also think is vibration. So that's where I'm trying to consolidate or figure that part out. But yeah, there's a couple more.
And y'all, this is coming from our 4 teachers. I know that's backwards, so that's right. This is Dr. Henry Lindlar and so many more authors.
There's the old one.
Oh, I love that you have that edition.
Yeah,
oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the page numbers are the same. When I say page numbers, I'm going off this book, and I know.
I looked. It's a different page number, but that's okay. I knew what you were talking about.
Okay.
So of all of those, the first one, the Vis Medicatrix Naturae, this is the keystone. It's the keystone of the arch. It's the foundation of the entire practice. If you have to understand this concept for anything else to really make sense. And once you do, I've experienced this, as have a couple of hundred of us coming through the Institute, right? And working towards our VNMIs. Once you get it, you can't forget it. And the other world doesn't make sense anymore.
That's right. This is the paradigm shift. This is the big paradigm shift right here, this first one.
Yes. So tell us how the Vis Medicatrix Naturae.
I'm going to pull up first what Jim's famous quote is here. Naturopathic medicine is based on universal principles that are true and hold true for all time. We don't have to change what we are doing for the 21st century because the same rules and laws that apply to nature and the natural process of healing are immutable. They always are, and they always will be, because that's the Vis. Lindlar said, I got all these quotes by me here, there's a living force always striving to repair and correct. It's an organizing force. It is ordered and intelligent. It restores balance. All symptoms are a manifestation of the imbalance. Remember that. All symptoms are a manifestation of an imbalance. The symptoms reveal the method of cure. The body tells you. The symptoms reveal the method of cure. If we suppress the symptoms, we further the imbalance. Suppression negates the natural phenomenon. The organizing force is the opposite of entropy. The vis opposes disease and restores health. I don't know if you could say it any more clearly than that.
No, that's so beautiful. There's a lot of deepness to that, right? Those are not superficial words. You have to take that and say, oh, let me look at the planet. Let me look at life around me. How does that work? Because there's not like a boss tree running around telling all the trees what they're supposed to do, right? They are simply a part of nature. Now I have to just look. If the ground is dry and it's starving and the environmental conditions are harsh and so many other things, right? That tree will not thrive. The plant, the animal, we are a part of nature. We forgot that somehow.
When I was gardening here at my house years ago and the soil was so depleted, there was like, I did a soil test. There was like no nitrogen, no nothing. I'm like Zippo in my soil because it had been wheatland that had been just trash, just abused. And here I am trying to grow tomato plants, right? And like, what they're dying. I'm like watering them and I got fertilizer on, but there's nothing really, there wasn't even carbon in the soil for them to pull from. And sure enough, I could actually stand in the garden and watch the potato bugs fly in just to eat those things down to nothing. I'm like, they're infested with these. And so if I was a traditional farmer, I'd be like, I got to spray these potato bugs. But no, they're there because they're cleaning up the trash because this isn't working. And what happens is the soil was so depleted, the plant just sent out these alarm signals, and the alarm signals draw in all the bugs. They go, the plant's under stress, the bugs are going to come eat it. And that it was so amazing for me to watch that. I could literally just watch them flying in from who the heck knows where, but I could see these potato bugs landing on my tomato plants.
Yeah.
And literally the leaves would be gone in a day. So it was really amazing to watch. It's like, well, that's what happens in our bodies. That's what happens when bacteria come in. It's our viruses. It's because we have the toxemia there, the alert signals are sent, and the immune system's trying to, and all of this stuff happens. It all interplays. It's really interesting to watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Béchamp asked that question, and I don't know that he ever developed a bench study for it. He said he posed the question. He just asked a question. I wonder if, although he used proper language, right? I'm ad-libbing here. I wonder if these organisms, these bacteria or viruses or whatever they were calling them back then, if they have some type of receptor where they can find their perfect home to thrive in. And it was a great question. Well, why wouldn't they have a receptor? Why would we recognize it? We don't have that receptor because we're not looking to thrive in decaying hosts, right? We're trying to find nourishing hosts because that's the kind of organism we are. And then that makes it just fits in the puzzle so well. If your body's in stress and imbalance and the vis medicatrix naturae is still there, it's still trying to work. But if you get into a state that these organisms could actually detect isn't that kind of an interesting thought?
Yeah. I know, amazing stuff. I'm going to throw in a couple more quotes that we went over the other day, because they're such neat quotes, and these are not from Lindlar. As you read different books and you keep these axioms in mind, you will find them in many other places, which is really neat, because these things will live on. Because they're they're part of nature. They will always be there. And you'll find other authors find them and they'll write about them. And so I found a book called Restoring the Soul of the World, and it's by David Fiddler. And he has a couple really cool quotes in here. He says, our own intelligence arises from the intelligence of nature. And if we carefully listen, we can hear the voice of the earth.
That's nice.
Yet, even within our own nature, in the unconscious regions that join our psyche with the greater soul of the world, an active organic power is at work, maintaining the unity of the organism and the creative unfolding energies of life. That's the vis. That's the vis right there.
That is the vis. That built-in, ever striving to be in its healthiest state. It's the optimal health, right?
Yeah, that's it. He also said, we live within the pattern of systemically unfolding, self-organizing cosmic organism that is finely tuned for the emergence of life. That's Gaia.
Wow.
Bill Mitchell would say that's Gaia.
That's Gaia. Well, I've even found this in cheese making. So I'll put, it's a guy, it's one guy.
Yeah.
It's the natural art of cheese making. He's trying to revive cheese making of hundreds of years ago.
Wow.
I'll post it in the Vital Conversation because there's a quote in there and I don't have it. I'm not prepared. But when I read it, I had to sit down and reread it because I said, that's Jim Sensenig. Well, how old is this guy, right? It was amazing. And if y'all want to even mess around with cheese making, this is the book. But he's a vitalist. He understands the vis medicatrix naturae.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and you will find it popping up everywhere. You just and in places you don't suspect, like cheese making,
beer making, same thing.
Beer making. Oh, the beer making book I read was incredible that way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all present. So, we were talking about Linlar, and you said something about chapter 2.
Yes.
But I had found right before I opened my computer here to talk, I was flipping through Linlar, and this is naturopathic medicine at the core right here. It says, our success is due to the fact that we do not rely on any one method of treatment, but combine in our work everything that is practical and beneficial in all different systems of natural healing.
Because it's not what you use.
It's how you use it.
What do you expect to happen? How many times have we, right? Are you trying to assist the vis medicatrix naturae for that specific individual person for what they need? Or do you need, I'm not saying tools aren't important, but only the tools that do that are helpful and beneficial. Whether it's a pharmaceutical, because without it, they'll die, right, or a blood transfusion, because without it, they'll die, right? Or it's the general way they live their life. Mm-hmm. Any of us, even we as doctors, right? I mm-hmm. wasn't living my most healthy life for a long time.
Yeah.
I was not following the vis. I was not following the vis, but I wasn't assisting the vis to manifest fully within me. I was opposing it.
Yeah, it's interesting, you know, that power in our bodies is naturally striving to heal. Even though we bombard it with all these terrible things we do to it, we somehow still survive for a long time, you know, until things catch up with us. But and that's what most people on the planet do. They just survive, they go along, and Americans are notorious for sabotaging our bodies and ignoring it completely, because that's what Western medicine is taught. It's like, oh, you don't pay attention to those symptoms. We know better. You just need this drug. Or, hey, this lab work looks totally fine for you. You're fine. This woman came to me yesterday or day before, She's very, very ill, yet her labs are perfect. And her doctors say, there's nothing wrong with you. You're totally fine. She goes, I'm really sick.
Right.
And you
They
can tell
can't
she's
define
really
it.
sick. Yeah.
Yeah, they can't diagnose
So,
it.
yeah. So they Western medicine allopathy is totally ignoring the vis and actually suppresses the vis if it tries to rear its head, because wow, don't have a symptom like that, let's just stop it, because that's kind of scary. We don't know what that crazy body is doing over there, so we better just make it stop that.
You know
Yeah.
what I think? I think the reason why that is because it's so pervasive in our culture, in many professions and in many messages, and in corporate structure, well, especially something set up to earn money. So here's my line of reasoning, right? We have to be, in order for a company to earn money, any company in any industry, in the traditional capitalistic model, they have to sell something. And in order, and they employ wonderful marketing people to figure out how to make the general community buy what they're selling. And so it's in the plastics company, and it's in construction, and it's in so many industries, including medicine, right?
Right.
Including medicine. It used to be that way. The nature cure doctors and the allopathic physicians often clashed. Many allopathic physicians would jump over to the sort of naturopathy side of things, even though it wasn't naturopathic, right? It was nature cure, or the water docs or the bone setters. And in the beginning, medicine didn't make people much money at all. In fact, many of them would die paupers, right?
Right.
On both sides of the sort of paradigm. But the capitalistic society really helped them package things. And in order to package things, it has to be for something. And that's, I think Pasteur was one of the people who contributed to that ability of pharmaceutical companies to arise, to package things to sell to people they don't need. Not that there aren't things they make that they need. We know this.
Right.
There are, it's not it's the way it's applied. And so even in, oh my goodness, even in farming, the farm industry, there's the same thing that exists there. You have a vitalistic type of farmer, your organic farmers, your whatever, and then you have your commercial, and you can almost compare, allopathic to, it's that way everywhere. And we are in one paradigm.
Yeah. 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 And it's true. Like once you switch to this paradigm, you can see both worlds, but you can't go back. You're because you realize the wisdom here. Yeah.
When I bring a patient in the first time, my number one priority is doing a paradigm test. I have to do that, because it's not until I know the paradigm that they live every day in that I can find the most effective way to communicate with them and educate them about what the vis medicatrix Naturae even is, so that the rest of what I do as a nature cure, naturopath, so difficult. We need a name for ourselves, because I don't want to use naturopathic doctor anymore. There's too many. We're such a small percentage. Well, that's why I use the VNMI. I mean, that's how I distinguish myself. Yeah.
That's why we set out to, set out the vitalist credentialing and then the fellow credentialing as a VNMI. Yeah, that's why we did that.
What I've been doing is saying I'm a vitalistic physician, and I use nature cure because I have to explain that I'm a different kind of doctor. So anyway, I do a paradigm test. And if they're in, which I would bet 80% of the people are, unless it's word of mouth referrals and they've been educated by their family, I think it's the 80-20 rule all the way. 80% of those people come in, they're in a different paradigm. So you have to start in a different way you can't even say, hey, there's this thing called the vis medicatrix Naturae. You can't even start there. That's it. You've lost them, right?
Yeah, right. It's like, what? Right.
How do you do this with your patients? How do you bring those who are don't even know there's another paradigm possible, to understanding that there's a paradigm, to become interested in exploring that? They're coming to you because they're sick,
Right.
and they want you to help them, and they don't know what exactly it is you do. How do you do that?
We just start with the education of this is, we're going to be looking at your blood. We're going to see how well your heart is working with ACG graph. We're going to do these diagnostic things that your medical doctor hasn't done. They're like, yeah, we want to do that. We want to do that. I said, so it starts with the diet, because you're eating inflammatory foods. It causes this toxemia. I bring up the words toxemia and healing reactions. And this is where the healing happens. And this is how we bring your vitality up so you can heal these processes. So I weave in these words. And that's, I think that's how I do it. I don't, because most people, like you say, are in that 80% or more. And most people have come to me word of mouth. So they know a little bit, she's going to change your diet, and she's going to give you some of those hydrotherapies. And, and as people get more comfortable with me and deeper, it's like, okay, here's what's happening with your disease process. And this is how we're going to bring you up to a better state of health. And no, you can't use aspirins and Tylenols to suppress that fever. We have other ways to do that. And so I think I do it just kind of naturally where they're at and bring them forward. But I want to know what your paradigm test is. What do you do? What do you do?
So I ask them a couple of questions. I tell them, I'm going to let you be the doctor for a minute. And I'm going to ask you, you've got someone with a headache and a lot of fatigue and some joint pain. If you were the doctor, what would you think about that person? What kinds of things might they need?
Oh, yeah, neat.
And 80% of the people will say, well, they probably are inflamed, and so they need something to get that inflammation down. And some of them will even say, maybe they're eating something bad. But the 20% that I already know are in the paradigm I live in will say, well, there's clearly something in the body that isn't working the way it's supposed to, and you have imbalance. And I would bet that people could have all different kinds of symptoms. So really, it's not what would I do for that thing? It's I would get to know that person and understand. So that is, and that's almost everybody, in the world is in one of those two places.
Oh, that's a neat way to sort that out. I hadn't thought of that. That's brilliant.
Well,
Neat.
and then they get to play doctor for a minute, right?
Yeah,
And if they've got, how many of these people are Dr. Google trained, right? So they come in, their heads are already full of all these ideas that they've been thinking about, what would help them. And you give them a chance to just have the floor and tell you what they think they would do. Holy cow.
That's a neat switch. I like that. That's brilliant, Eli. That's brilliant. Yeah, cool. I'll have to start doing that.
Well, so people have asked on the VC and at conferences and in conversations all the time, and commented about the intangibility of the vis itself, right? So the vis Medicatrix Naturae is the power, that inherent built-in power to every living thing that's always striving for health. But part of the vis Medicatrix Naturae over the years we've come to call the vis, which is each individual living organism's vitality, right? The vis is, it's more than vitality, but
it's the living energy inside. Yeah. How do you, Eli, how do you determine the vis in a patient? How do you evaluate that?
So it starts from my first contact with them, I think, really. This may be my classical homeopathic case taking training also, but I'm looking at how they speak. Do they use the first person, or you could say, I have a headache, or they'll say, when you get a headache, not claiming that it's their headache, right?
Right.
So
right.
I'm paying attention to things like that. How present are they in their body?
Mhm.
So if you've got someone present in their body, for me, the vis is a little bit more vibrant than someone who's not very well connected to their body. So I look at their skin. So a physical sort of thing, and their hair, the
Mhm.
the way they talk, right? Is it shy? Is it just because, gosh, trauma is such an underlying cause for so many people, and it manifests, right?
It sure does. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a big thing.
Uh, in they'll do a little questionnaire: how you sleeping, how you pooping, right? The answers to those sort of indicate, but the vis, there's a quality to it that's
Mhm.
really hard but clear when you see it. I don't know that I saw it in the early years. I didn't actually start to learn how to recognize and differentiate this until I started practicing nature cure, like the naturopathic medicine I was learning at NMI and from all of my mentors. It wasn't until I saw people become vibrant and healthy and the V strong that I it was like, you need night and day to recognize either one. You
Right.
needed that. What about you?
Well, I think I do that several ways with my patients. I think one way I show them their vitality because they don't understand that aspect, but one way we can show them is with the blood photography that I do. If your blood is strong, I tell people the first thing I'm doing is rebuilding your blood, because if your blood's strong, then you can heal. You can't heal with anemic blood, you can't heal with inflammation there, and the blood photos are really clear, and we can use those before and after to show patients, now look, you did all this work and look how beautiful this is. You feel great, but somehow they need some sort of
Tangible.
validation that, oh, I am better. They have to see
Yes.
something, even though
Right.
they're still not used to trusting their body.
Right.
It's like they just can't trust. They feel better, but are they really better? And they need some validation. So I think the blood photography is a good way to do that. When I saw my dad bring that into the practice when I was a kid, it's like it shifted his practice, and you could see that people were more dedicated, I guess, to their healing process. I saw that happen. And then when I went back and worked with him after I graduated, I could see the benefit of that. So that's a big thing, I think. I think we also do it through, like you said, the vitality or the look of their skin and their hair and their pulses and their tongue. And,
Mhm.
all of those signs and symptoms we're trained to look at
The
for our
heart.
patients. Yeah, the heart tones are a big
Mhm.
one.
Mhm.
um, what else did I write down? I think those, and then just their stress loads and how are they managing stress, and do they have post-trauma stuff they bring up and are triggered by all the time, and really, I think the trauma is or the stresses in our lives that we carry with us and people don't realize they still have those patterns or those behaviors or those go to fall back safety things that they do that really inhibit their movement forward. That's a big thing these days. I don't know if it was as much years past, but it sure is now.
Well, I think it's always been different, whether you're agrarian or you are, in a city.
Yeah.
And it's, I think, less on your rural people who are more connected to nature, and
Hmm.
they don't even think of them as laws of nature. They just say, well, that's the way the world works.
Right.
That's
That's
the
the
way
way
the
the
world
world works.
works. I
Yeah.
mean, right? Do you
Right.
remember that study that the Farmers Ranchers Association up north in Montana, and it was northern states, and the story has floated around, and they were having a lot of trouble with increasing antibiotic use in the cattle. And so they got together and they funded a study. Long story short, right? It's a group of vets and biologists and scientists who come out, do the study. I don't know why it was so expensive, but they do the study, they come back, they present, and they say, well, we can tell you exactly what to do. You need to completely graze your pastures. They can't digest the corn. The corn is the problem. And they didn't want to hear that. because they had
Right,
subsidies for using corn, and corn was very intricately interwoven into the whole ranching industry.
right.
But that they said they can't eat the corn. If you remove the corn and just put them on their natural diet, this problem goes away.
Yep.
Well, but I think even long ago, they just didn't have the knowledge to know what was happening, right? So I think it's always been prevalent in cities where
I
humans, yeah,
I think so, and I think people have suppressed it. It's been suppressed. It's still being suppressed. You
yeah,
know, maybe through COVID, people are a little more aware of how our mental, emotional states affect us physically.
right,
Um, but you know, my German grandma didn't talk about her traumas and tribulations and things she went through, and you know, on the farm in Nebraska, she never talked about any of that. So we just didn't talk about things. Or post World War II, we didn't talk about the stresses, or Vietnam War and all the things that happened there. So you know, we live in a very traumatic world, and people are used to living in that and then medicating it away.
mm-hmm,
And that's difficult.
mm-hmm. So we just got through the holidays, and it's pretty typical that sugar use skyrockets, right,
Yeah.
during the holidays. I'm guilty of that too a little bit. Man, I love me some cannoli and strufoli and all those Italian desserts, but I have a neighbor behind me, far behind me, thankfully. And she, not because of her, just because I'm come to like fewer neighbors. But anyway, she mentioned to me the other day, she came and picked up some eggs, and she said, my joints have been hurting a lot. And I said to her, did you eat a lot of sugar through the holidays? And she said, well, honey, everybody eats a lot of sugar through the holidays. Of course, I ate a lot of sugar. And I said, well, maybe try going 4 days without any sugar that's not naturally occurring in food and not baked foods, right? And see what happens with your joints. You know what? She called me this morning and she said, I just have to tell you, young lady, that I have no more joint pain. She said, that sugar stuff, who knew? And I
Yeah,
said, well,
right.
who knew?
I had a guy a number of years ago who many different jobs and things in his life, past lives, and right now he drives school bus. And he was so stoved up with arthritis, he was actually kind of knuckling the steering wheel. He just couldn't grab it anymore. And his hips hurt, and he's in so much pain. And I said, why don't we just put you on a water fast? He goes, what? Oh, let me, can I do that? It's like, yeah, come in every day for hydrotherapy. I'm going to fast you for 4 days. Let's see what happens. He's like, oh my God, he wanted to jump and hug me. He's like, look, I have full flexion of my hands, and I can't believe this. You saved my life, all this stuff. And it was a game changer for the guy. All I did was fast him for 4 days on water. And
Because the Medicatrix Naturae is just
yeah,
kind of like magical.
it is. It was just really magical.
It
So
always works every single time.
isn't that
You
funny?
don't need a clinical trial. It always works. What is there?
Well, that's why we
Might
keep
not be
doing it.
enough.
Right. Yeah.
When I got so sick in 2018, I almost died. Like I needed something to keep me alive. And then everybody took over after we passed that threshold of death. But it wasn't in drugs. It wasn't in suppressing. It was in supporting my body. And it took a long time to get better, months before I could even think normally.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a long recovery when you're in those things, and people need that support and nourishing to know that they can do it. And in Western medicine, that's not there for people, and
it's not built into their system. That's not what they learn. It isn't. We've always had this divide, right, for eons.
Yeah, yeah, and now the divide is in our own profession. So
yeah.
That's why these conversations are so critical, because we need to keep talking about that these roots of our medicine, and that they're still true today, and we still rely on them, and they still work. And there will always be a core of us naturopaths who understand that will keep practicing it,
And teaching.
and teaching it. And whether it still gets called naturopathic medicine, I don't know. But, as Lindlar said way back when, that's, he was talking about those methods of treatments all brought into one thing, which is what Benedict Lust did when he started naturopathic medicine.
Mm-hmm.
So, the brilliance of our medicine will live on. It'll be there, but
it will. And I think as the weeks are coming and we're talking about the different axioms, it'll be so easy to tie it back always to the vis medicatrix naturae, and what are the rules? What are the rules of life? See, I think of them as the rules of life, right? And everybody has different sets of rules, and my rules are echoed in the natural world around me. So they don't seem bizarre or human-centered only. It's easy to see.
Yeah.
There's this kid that came. So y'all know I'm like trying to become a rancher, farmer, homesteader, teacher, like this world. And there's this young boy who came, and we were walking around outside, and the garden looks awful right now. It just does. It's right fall. We took all the plants out. Now we're whatever. And he looked around and he said, because you walking up to the garden, you can see the old pasture land, which we're in the process of restoring. Then you walk into the garden and it's becoming lush and green. And he said to me, why does this look so much different from that out there? I mean, you could clearly see we're standing in the middle of the pasture, right? So even at his age, something made him curious. Why is this different? And I had such an opportunity to talk about and tie it to us, our own health as people. And I just made it very matter of fact, right? And I just said, because our life grows according to natural laws. And one of those rules, right? Because the kids don't understand law, they understand rule. One of those rules is there has to be food that they need to make their body. So plants need nitrogen. There's no nitrogen there. There's lots of nitrogen here. And so we had that conversation. That's the little boy, Tish, I was telling you the other day, that when they were leaving, he took my hand and he said, Miss Eli, I think I could do this. And that's that. All I did was teach him about the vis. That's all.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. And he heard that. Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
That's inspiring. And that's even those little seeds that we plant like that. That's important.
Mm-hmm.
That is important. Yeah. And the definition of an axiom is a statement or proposition which is regarded as being established, accepted, or self-evidently true. So when it's self-evidently true, the truth always comes. It's always present. It always shines through, right?
It does. And these are the axioms that we're going to be talking about all year, because it's there. We're so not making this up, nor did the people who came before us. I suspect, since life has, right, what do we know now is that the initial spark of life was a flash of light on our planet, right? Well, that started life on our planet, and then life, it just bloomed in all its different forms and shapes and sizes, no matter what theories you subscribe to, right? That there's just one archetype of life on the planet and we diversify in many different ways, like all that stuff, whatever you believe. Yeah, self and evident. I love that. Self-evident.
Yeah, self-evidently true.
True.
So all these axioms we'll be talking about are self-evidently true. We know them. We just haven't really quantified, I don't know what the word is.
Elucidated, codified
them. Yeah.
As being unique to our practice of medicine.
Right. because only naturopaths do this. Only naturopaths work with these and know how to work with nature to bring about healing. You can see parts of it with an herbalist or parts of it with functional medicine doctors, but they don't have the understanding and the basic philosophy guiding their practice that we have.
Mhm. Well,
Using
unless they come through NMI.
Yep. Well, this is fun. I think I went through all my little notes here. How about you? Got anything else that you like?
Well, I think maybe if anybody wants to add, don't y'all do that these days at the end? Give people a
Yeah,
chance
let's open up for any questions or talk. Yeah, that's right. We were going to do that each time.
Yeah.
How are we doing on time? Okay. Yeah.
Good.
Anybody have questions or comments or want to? Oh, there's a couple of chats here I didn't look at. Kirsten says that's a great analogy. Hello, Kirsten. Yeah.
I wanted to add, when Eli, when you said that spark of light, I don't know if you guys know anything about this, but there's a medical doctor, actually. Everyone thinks she's kind of a fruit bat. I think she's fascinating. She's studying quantum mechanics and all of this, and basically talks about light all the time. And there's this amazing study on how part of the study is zinc. Okay, whatever, zinc, cool.
Okay.
It's a good mineral. But the other part of it is when the sperm actually gets into the egg, when life starts,
Yeah.
there is a zinc spark. You can see it on imaging.
Yeah, I've seen
whole
videos of it.
Lights up.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty awesome.
It's so cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Wow.
And without that
It's a
zinc,
flash.
it doesn't happen. Yeah, it's a flash. It's just a flash.
Yeah. And you can actually have sperm penetrate egg and just be and no spark,
Mhm.
no embryo.
Right.
It's really like, let's make the sparks fly. Like that
Yeah,
was
and
DNA.
that's when the soul enters the egg. That's when life actually begins. So that's the direction she takes it. I just think it's fascinating. So cool.
But just from a purely biophysical perspective, the fact that you can record the spark is amazing.
Yes.
Yeah. Thanks for sharing that.
Wow. 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 Well, what's the next one? The next one we're going to talk about is health is balance next month. So that's what we'll be chatting about. And with each one of these, we're going to try to bring in some cases, examples.
Is there any reading we can recommend for the next Axiom? Or I would just say read the Philosophy of Natural Therapeutics, but
yeah,
maybe we could send that out by email or post it in the VC.
I hadn't thought of that.
Me either. It just popped in my head right now, where we maybe do some suggested reading before next month. It's a whole month, right?
Yeah, it's a whole month. So let me go back to some of my old notes when I started working with these with Jim. There's probably like certain chapters or something in Lindlar I can pull up. So I'll try and noodle around on that. I just get so bogged down in this book. I mean, the second you pick it up, literally, I tab every stinking page.
It's mine too. Look at all my tabs.
Yeah,
I do the same thing.
Yeah, and so it's like you read it again and go, wait, whoa, what? And it's like Jim said, you want to hide in the corner and go, this is like top secret stuff.
Yeah,
and people know about this, and this is, oh my God, can we talk about this? Because this is
know.
You know.
Jason asked a question. It was Philosophy of Natural Therapy. So Jason wanted to know what book I showed at the beginning.
Okay.
The white book. Yeah. So Philosophy of Natural Therapeutics. This one was edited by Jocelyn Proby. I don't know that they all are. And Henry Lindlar, MD.
Yeah, this is Lindlar, Volume 1, Philosophy of Natural Therapeutics.
Yep.
That's the one that I bought from the bookstore at NCNM a billion years ago. And then I saw my dad had a copy of it. This was republished in 1975, and it says the Maidstone Osteopathic Clinic in Maidstone, Kent, 1975. So obviously that's a republication of Lindlar's works.
His other book is really good too. So this was, the philosophy was number one. He also has the practice of natural therapeutics. Then he did dietetics. Then he did era diagnosis.
Right.
So, I mean, if you're looking for books to have on your shelf or to reread, that series of 4 from him. I don't know about the era diagnosis. I don't have that book. Did you use that book?
I don't think I have it unless it's in my dad's stuff. I don't think I've had that one.
Yeah.
Right. I have the other book that Dad was trained by and O.G. Carroll was trained by. And I think I showed that in the Irish stuff.
Yeah.
But I just flipped open to the very first comment here. I don't know who wrote this. It says, evil is not an accident, not an arbitrary punishment, not always a, quote, error of mortal mind. It is the natural and inevitable result of violation of nature's laws. It is instructive and corrective in purpose and will remain with us only so long as we need its salutary lessons.
Oh, wow.
Someone
handwrote that in there?
Yeah, that
cool.
was actually printed in the book.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then the first part of the book is an Irish chart.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's really neat. So there's my cat. Hello, cat.
Does anybody else have anything to say? Or add or no?
Okay. Well, we're just
So,
at an hour. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be back the third Wednesday of February. You'll get an email again. The next one we're talking about is health as balance, like Tish said. And in the Vital Conversation, maybe we could post some suggested stuff sometime in the next week or so. I mean, it's a whole month. It doesn't take that long to read these pages.
Yeah. I'll try and find a couple things.
And I'm going to put up the cheese book, because as soon as you read that first chapter, this guy should have been an ND. He should have. He gets it.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I found it in the beer book too.
I know, it's so cool. Well, I hope you have a great day and a good month. And are we going to hang out here, or do you want me to send you a link to my Zoom?
Let's resume.
Okay.
Redo Zoom. Okay.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Good to see you.
Thanks for joining me today. For those of you interested in learning more about the teachings that are offered at the Naturopathic Medicine Institute and becoming a public member, they have both free and paid, visit thevitalnd.org. For those of you interested in my books and other offerings, I get emails and texts from y'all all the time. Here's just a short summary where you can find them. The Unvaccinated Child is a book. It's a resource guide for parents and caregivers to navigate childhood illnesses in a natural and healthy way. The intended group was the unvaccinated population, but it turns out it's an important resource for vaccinated as well, since we know vaccines do not necessarily prevent the illnesses. Smoke Rings is a book I wrote to help smokers. It is judgment-free. It doesn't matter to me what choice you make in your life, but if you're a smoker, love a smoker, used to smoke, continue to smoke, trying to quit, it doesn't matter. This book helps you be your healthiest version along any step of the way. My most recent book, Homeopathy, A Foundational Approach. This is a great book for someone, whether they're a complete beginner or they're already practicing homeopathy. It starts at the beginning and guides you through the basics and into first aid and acute practice and prescribing, so you can start using homeopathy right away. My workshops and courses can be found at either ecampnd.com or longshadowsranch.net. Again, thank you for joining me. Thank you for your support, and have a great week.